Yes, madam.
Nancy! When I'm talking to you, I want you to stop your work and listen what I have to say.
Yes, madam. I will, madam. I was only keeping on with my work.
That you'll do, Nancy. I didn't ask for explanation, I asked for your attention.
Yes, madam.
When you have finished your morning work, Nancy, you may clean the little room in the attic and make up the bed, sweep the room and clean it. My niece, Miss Poliana, is coming and living with me. She's 11 years old and she will sleep in that room.
A little girl is coming here, Miss Harrington. What will be nice?
Nice? Well, that isn't exactly the word I would use. However, I intend to make the best of it, of course. I am a good woman, I hope, and I know my duty.
Of course, madam. It was only that I thought a little girl here might brighten things up for you.
Thank you. I can't see, however, that I see any need for that.
But of course you'd want her. Your sister's child.
Well, really, Nancy, just because I happen to have a sister who was silly enough to marry and bring unnecessary children into her world that was already full enough, I don't think I should want to take the care of them myself. However, as I said before, I hope, I know my duty. See that you clean the corners, Nancy.
Yes, madam. Miss Poliana, what scare you gave me?
Scared? Oh, I'm so sorry, but you mustn't, really. Never get scared about me, Nancy. I always come back all right.
But I even didn't know you had gone. I didn't see you go, and nobody did. I guess you flew right up through the roof.
I came down the tree outside my window.
My stars and stockings. I'd like to know what your aunt would say to that. But we'd better hurry. I've got to get dishes done, you know, and you must be hungry too. I'm afraid you will have to have bread and milk in the kitchen with me. Your aunt didn't like it, because you didn't come down to supper, you know.
But I couldn't, I was up here.
Yes, but she didn't know that, you see. I'm sorry about the bread and milk.
I'm not, I'm glad.
Glad? Why?
Why? I like bread and milk. I would like to eat with you. I don't see any trouble about that.
You don't seem to see any trouble about everything.
Well, that's the game. You know, anyway.
The game?
Yes, the being glad game. Father told it to me, and it's lovely. We have played it always ever since I was a little girl. We began on some crutches that came in a missionary barrel.
Crutches?
Yes, I had wanted a doll, and Father had written them so. When the barrel came, the letter wrote that no dolls had come in, but the little crutches had. So she sent them along as they might come in handy for some child, and that's when we began it.
Well, I must say, I can't see any game about that.
Oh, the game was to find something about everything to be glad about no matter what it was, and we began right then, on the crutches.
Well, goodness me, I can't see anything to be glad about getting a pair of crutches when you want the doll.
I couldn't see it either, Nancy, at first. Father had to tell it to me. Just be glad because you don't need them. You see it easy when you know how.
Poliana, what was that man, the one who drove into the yard?
Oh no, I'm sorry, that was Dr. Chilton. Don't you know him?
Dr. Chilton? What was he doing here?
He drove me home and I gave the jelly to Mr. Pendleton and...
Poliana! He didn't seem consented.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I told him you didn't.
You told him I didn't?
Why did you say too?
I said, Poliana, that you should be very sure that he didn't think I sent it, which is very different matter from telling him outright that I did not send it.
Dear me, well, I don't see the difference. Oh, what Polly you got into?
Got what, you impossible child?
I never knew you had them.
Poliana, what does all this mean?
No, please don't smooth it out. I'm talking about those darling little black girls. This is so pretty.
nonsense! What do you mean, Pollyanna, by going to the ladies' side the other day in that absurd fashion about that beggar boy?
But it isn't nonsense. You don't know how pretty you look with your hair like that.
Pollyanna, you didn't answer my question. Why did you go to the ladies' side in that absurd fashion? When the ladies told me this afternoon how you came to them, I was so ashamed.
Pollyanna, Eleanor Potter. Pollyanna looked shocked. Oh, Aunt Polly, as if I could be ungrateful to you. Why, I love you. You aren't even a lady's aider. You're an aunt. Very well. Then see that you don't act ungrateful, vouchsafed Miss Polly as she turned toward the door. She had gone halfway down the stairs when a small, unsteady voice called after her. Please, Aunt Polly, you didn't tell me which of my things you wanted to give away. Aunt Polly emitted a tight sigh, a sigh that ascended straight to Pollyanna's ears. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Pollyanna. Timothy will drive us into town at 1:30 this afternoon. Not one of your garments is fit for my niece to wear. Certainly, I should be very far from doing my duty by you if I should let you appear out in any one of them. Pollyanna sighed now. She believed she was going to head toward duty. Aunt Polly, please, she called wistfully. Isn't there any way you can be glad about all that duty business? What? Miss Polly looked up in dazed surprise. Then suddenly, with very red cheeks, she turned and swept angrily down the stairs. Don't be impertinent, Pollyanna. In the hot little attic room, Pollyanna dropped herself onto one of the straight back chairs. To her, existence loomed ahead one endless round of duty. I don't see, really, what there was impertinent about that, she sighed. I was only asking her if she could tell me something to be glad about in all the duty business. For several minutes Pollyanna sat in silence, her rueful eyes fixed on the forlorn heap of garments on the bed. Then slowly she rose and began to put away the dresses. There just isn't anything to be glad about that I can see, she said aloud, unless it's to be glad when the duty's done. Whereupon she laughed suddenly.
Anna knew that the ladies' aid met at 2 o'clock in the chapel next to the church, half a mile from home. She planned her going there a little before 3. I want them all to be there, she said to herself. Oh, else the very one that wasn't there might be the one who would want to give Jimmy Bean a home. Quietly, but with confident courage, Pollyanna ascended the chapel steps, pushed open the door, and entered the vestibule. Now that the time had come, she felt unusually shy. How do you do, ladies' aiders? She asked politely. I'm Pollyanna Wilter. I reckon some of you know me, maybe. The silence could almost be felt now. Did your aunt send you, my dear? Asked Mrs. Ford, the minister's wife. Pollyanna colored a little. Oh no, I come all by myself. Yes, dear, what is it? Well, it's Jimmy Bean, sighed Pollyanna. He hasn't any home except the orphan one, and they're full and don't want him anyhow, he thinks. So he wants another that has a mother instinct of a matron in it and some folks. He is 10 years old. I thought some of you might like him to live with you, you know. A dazed pause followed Pollyanna's words. Oh, I forgot to say, he will work, she added eagerly. Still, there was silence. Then, coldly, one or two women began to question her. When they all had the story, the ladies began to talk among themselves. It seems that their society was famous for its offering to Hindu mission. It was all very confusing and not quite pleasant. Pollyanna was glad indeed when at last she found herself outside in the sweet air, only she was very sorry. She knew it was not going to be easy to tell Jimmy Bean tomorrow that the ladies eight had decided that they would rather send all their money to bring up the little India boys than to save out enough to bring up one little boy in their our town, for which they would not get a bit of credit in the report.
Добрый день, я Софья Ковалева, обучающаяся 8 класса МГУ Марьяновская школа, администрация Старобешевского района. Хочу рассказать отрывок из романа «Поляна». On a pleasant Thursday morning, Pollyanna had been taken calves food jelly against Mrs. Snow. Mrs. Snow and Pollyanna were the best of friends now. The friendship had started from the visit Pollyanna had made. The one after, she had told Mrs. Snow of the game. Mrs. Snow herself was playing the game now with Pollyanna. To be sure, she was not playing the game, it very well. She had been sorry for everything for so long that it was not easy to be glad for anything now. But under Pollyanna's cherry instructions and merry laughter at her mistakes, she was learning fast. Today even, to Pollyanna's huge delight, she had said that she was glad Pollyanna brought calf's food jelly, because it was just what she had been wanting. She did not know that Millie, at the front door, had told Pollyanna that the minister's wife had already that day kind of jelly. Pollyanna was thinking of this now. Suddenly, she saw the boy. The boy was sitting in a disconsolate little hid by at the roadside, beating half-heartedly at small stick. "Hello," smiled Pollyanna engagingly. The boy glanced up, but he looked away again at once. "Hello yourself," he mumbled. Pollyanna laughed. "Now you don't look as if you'd be glad for anything comes with jelly." She chuckled, stopping before him. The boy stared restlessly, gave her a surprised look, and began to whittle again at his stick with the broken blended knife in his hand. Pollyanna hesitated, then rocked herself comfortably down on the grass near him. In spite of Pollyanna bravely social, that she was used to ladies' eaters and didn't mind, she had sat at times for some companion of her own age. Hence her determination to make the most of this one. "My name's Pollyanna Vita," she began pleasantly. "What's yours?" Again the bird stared restlessly. He even almost got to his feet, but he stayed back. "Jimmy Bean," he grunted and gracious in indifference.
Будко Диана, школа номер 80 города Макеевки. Отрывок из романа «Поллианна», Эленор Портер. Miss Polly answered the letter the day before, and she had said she would take the child, of course. As she sat now, with the letter in her hands, her sons went back to her sister, Jenny, Pollyanna's mother, and to the time when Jenny, as a girl of 20, married the young minister and went paths with him. The family had little more to do with their missionary's wife. In one of her letters, Jenny wrote about Pollyanna, her last baby, the other babies had all died. Few years later, they received the news of her death, told in a short but had broken little knot from the minister himself. Miss Polly, looking out at the valley below, thought all the changes those 25 years had brought to her. She was 40 now, and quite alone in the world. Father, mother, sisters, all were dead. She was mistress of the house, and of the sounds left to her by her father. There were people who needed to her lonely life. There were people who pitied her lonely life. Miss Polly was with a frowning face. She was glad, of course, that she was a good woman, and that she not only knew her duty, but had character to perform it. But Pollyanna, what a ridiculous name.
Отрывок из произведения Элеонор Портер «Поллианна», глава 6. Рассказчик Владислава Булавина. And Polly finished decisively as she rose from her chair. Pollyanna cried out in dismay. Oh, but Aunt Polly, you haven't let me any time at all just to leave. To leave, child, what do you mean? As if you weren't leaving all the time? Oh, of course, I'll be breathing all the time. I was doing those things, Aunt Polly, but I wouldn't be leaving. You breathe all the time you're asleep, but you aren't leaving. I mean leaving, doing the things you want to do. Playing outdoors, reading, to myself of course, climbing hills, talking to Mr. Tom in the garden and Nancy, and finding out all about the houses and the people and everything everywhere you saw the perfectly lovely streets I came out yesterday. That's what I call living, Aunt Polly. Just breathing isn't living. Miss Polly lifted her head irritably. Pollyanna, you're the most extraordinary child. You will be allowed a proper amount of playtime, of course, but surely it seems to me, if I'm willing to do my duty is seen, that you have proper care and instruction. You ought to be willing to do yours by seeing that care and instruction are not ungratefully wasted. Pollyanna looked shocked. Oh, but Aunt Polly, as if I could be ungrateful to you. Why? I love you. You aren't even a lady sailor, you my aunt. Very well, then see that you don't act ungrateful, vouchsafed Miss Polly as she turned toward the door.
John Pendleton's face had grown very white. He was speaking with evident difficulty. Pollyanna, her eyes white and frightened, and her lips parted, was gazing at him fixedly. I loved your mother, but she didn't love me, and after a time she went away with your father. I did not know until then how much I did care. The whole world suddenly seemed to turn black under my fingers, but never mind. For long years I have been a cross, crabbed, unlovable and loved old man, though I'm not nearly 60 yet, Pollyanna. Then, one day, like one of the prisms that you love so well, little girl, you danced into my life and flecked my dreary old world with dashes of the purple and gold and scarlet of your own bright journeys. I found out, after a time, who you were, and I thought that I never wanted to see you again. I didn't want to be reminded of your mother, but you know how that came out. I just had to have you come. And now, I want you always. Pollyanna, won't you come now? But, Mr. Pendleton, there's Aunt Polly. Pollyanna's eyes were blooded with tears. The man made an impatient gesture. What about me? How do you suppose I'm going to be glad about anything without you? Why, Pollyanna? It's only since you came that I've been even half glad to life. But if I had you for my own little girl, I'd be glad for anything. And I tried to make you glad too, my dear. You shouldn't have wished and gratified. All my money, to the last cent, should go to make you happy.
August came. August brought several surprises and some changes, none of which, however, were really a surprise to Nancy. Nancy, since Polyanna's arrival, had come to look for surprises and changes. First there was the kitten. Polyanna found the kitten mewing beautifully some distance down the road. When systematic questioning of neighbors failed to find anyone who climbed it, Polyanna brought it home at once, as a matter of course. And I was glad I didn't find anyone who owned it too, she told her aunt in happy confidence, because I wanted to bring it home all the time. I love kitties, and I knew you'd be glad to let it live here. Miss Polly looked at the fallen little grey of neglected misery in Polyanna's arms, and shivered. Miss Polly did not care for cats, not even pretty, healthy, clean ones. "Oh, Pollyanna, what a dirty little thing! And it's sick, I'm sure, and all mangy and flea." "I know it, poor little thing," cried Pollyanna tenderly, looking into the little creature's frightened eyes. "And all it's trembling, too. It's so scared. You see, it doesn't know yet, but we are going to keep it, of course." "No, no anybody else," told Miss Polly with meaning emphasis. "Oh, yes, they do," nodded Pollyanna, entirely misunderstanding her aunt's words. "I told everybody we should keep it if I didn't find where it belonged. I knew you'd be glad to have it. Poor little lonesome thing." Miss Polly opened her lips and tried to speak, but in vain. A curious, helpless feeling had been her so often since Pollyanna's arrival. Had her now effects in its grip.
The little dog seemed frantic now, back and forth between Pollyanna and the side path. He vibrated, barking and whining pitifully. Every queer of his little brown body and every glance from his beseeching brown eyes were eloquent with the echo. So eloquent that at last Pollyanna understood, turned and followed him. Straight ahead now, the little dog dashed madly. It was not long before Pollyanna came upon the reason for it all. A man lying motionless at the foot of a steep, overhanging mass of rock a few yards from his path. A twig cracked sharply, and the man turned his head. With a cry of dismay, Pollyanna ran to his side. "Mr. Pendleton, oh, are you hurt?"
In Pollyanna's room, the nurse had found a purring cricket on the bed, vainly trying to attract the attention of a white-faced, wild-eyed little girl. "Miss Hunt, please, I want Aunt Polly. I want her right away. Quick, please." The nurse closed the door and came forward hurriedly. Her face was very pale. She can't come just this minute, dear. She will a little later. What is it? Can I get it? Pollyanna shook her head. But I want to know what she said just now. Did you hear her? I want Aunt Polly. She said something. I want her to tell me it isn't true. It isn't true. The nurse tried to speak, but no words came. Something in her face said, and it hit terror to Pollyanna's eyes. "Miss Hunt, you did hear her. It is true. Oh, it isn't true. You don't mean I can't even walk again? There, dear. Don't, choked the nurse.
Perhaps he didn't know, perhaps he was mistaken. There is lots of things that could happen, you know. But Aunt Polly said he didn't know. She said he knew more than anybody else about broken legs like mine. Yes, I know, dear. But all doctors make mistakes sometimes. Just don't think any more about it now. Please don't, dear. Pollyanna flung out her arms wildly, but I can't help thinking about it. She sobbed. It's all there is now to think about. Why, Miss Hunt? How am I going to school? Or to see Mr. Pendleton or Mrs. Snow or anybody? She caught her breath and sobbed violently for a moment.
Dear Aunt Polly and Uncle Tom, oh, I can walk. I did today all the way from my bed to the window. It was 6 steps. My, how good it was to be on legs again. All the doctors stood around and smiled, and all the nurses stood beside of them and cried. A lady in the next ward, who walked last week first, peeked into the door, and another one, who hopes she can walk next month, was invited into the party. And she laid on my nurse's bed and clapped her hands. Even Black Tilly, who washes the floor, looked through the piazza window and called me "honey, child," when she wasn't crying too much to call me anything. I don't see why they cried. I wanted to sing and shout and yell. Oh, just think, I can walk. Now I don't mind being here almost 10 months, and I didn't miss the wedding anyhow. Wasn't that just like you, Aunt Polly, to come on here and get married right beside my bed, so I could see you? You always do think of the gladdest things. Pretty soon, they say, I shall go home. I wish I could walk all the way there. I do. I don't think I shall ever want to ride anywhere anymore. It will be so good just to walk. Oh, I am so glad. I am glad for everything. Why, I am glad now. I lost my legs for a while, for never now. How perfectly lovely legs are till you haven't got them. That go. I mean, I am going to walk 8 steps tomorrow, with heaps of love to everybody. Pollyanna.
Dear Aunt Polly and Uncle Tom. Oh, I can walk. I did today all the way from my bed to the window. It was 6 steps. My, how good it was to be on legs again. All the doctors stood around and smiled, and all the nurses stood beside of them and cried. A lady in the next ward, who walked last week first, peeked into the door, and another one, who hopes she can walk next month, was invited into the party, and she laid on my nurse's bed and clapped her hands. Even Black Tilly, who washes the floor, looked through the piazza window and called me "honey child" when she wasn't crying to call me anything. I don't see why they cried. I I wanted to sing and shout and yell. Oh, 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 just think, I can walk, walk, walk. Now I don't mind being here almost 10 months, and I didn't miss the wedding anyhow. Wasn't that just like you, Aunt Polly, to come in here and to get married right beside my bed, so I could see you? You always do think of the gladdest things.
Dear Aunt Polly and Uncle Tom. Oh, I can't walk. I did today all the way from my bed to the window. It was 6 steps. My how good it was to be on legs again. All the doctors stood around and smiled, and all the nurses stood beside of them and cried. A lady in the next ward who walked last week first peeked into the door, and another on who hopes she can walk next month was invited into the party, and she laid on my nurse's bed and clapped her hands. Even Black Tilly, who washes the floor, looked round the pizza window and called me honey child when she wasn't crying too much to call me a nothing. I don't see who they cried. I wanted to sing and shout and yell. Oh, 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 just sing. I can walk, walk, walk. No, I didn't mind being here almost 10 months. And I didn't miss their wedding and now. Wasn't that just like you, Aunt Polly, to come on here and get me right beside my bed so I could see you? You always do sing of the gladdest scene. Pretty soon they say I shall go home. I wish I could walk all the way there. I do. I don't think I shall ever want to ride in nowhere anymore. It would be so good just to walk. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm glad for nothing. Who I'm glad now I lost my legs for a while. For you never know how perfectly lovely legs. I tell you haven't got them that go. I mean, I'm going to walk 8 steps tomorrow. With heaps of love to everybody. Pollyanna.
Dear Aunt Polly and Uncle Tom. Oh, I can walk. I did today all the way from my bed to the window. It was 6 steps. My, how good it was to be on legs again. All the doctors stood around and smiled, and all the nurses stood beside of them and cried. A lady in the next ward who walked last week first peeked into the door, and another one who hopes she can walk next month was invited into the party, and she laid on my nurse's bed and clapped her hands. Even Black Tyler, who washed the floor, looked through the piazza window and called me honey child, when she wasn't crying too much to call me anything. I don't see why they cried. I wanted to sing and shout and yell. Oh, just sing. I can walk, walk, walk. No, I don't mind being here almost 10 months, and I didn't miss the wedding anyhow. Wasn't just like you, Aunt Polly, to come on here and get married right beside my bed, so I could see you. You always do sing of the gladdest things. Pretty soon, they say, I shall go home. I wish I could walk all the way there. I do. I don't think I shall ever want to ride anywhere anymore. It will be so good just to walk. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm glad for everything. Why I'm glad now I lost my legs for a while, for you never know how perfectly lovely legs are till you haven't got them that go, I mean. I'm going to walk 8 steps tomorrow with heaps of love to everybody. Pollyanna.
Dear Aunt Polly and Uncle Tom, oh, I can walk. I did today on the way from my bed to the window. It was 6 steps. My, how good it was to be my legs again. All the doctors stood around and smiled, and all the nurses stood beside of them and cried. A lady in the next ward, who walked last week first, peeked into the door. And another one, who hopes she can walk next month, was invited into the party. She laid on my nurse's bed and she clapped her hands. And Black Tilly, who washes the floor and looked through the piazza window and called me honey child, when she wasn't crying too much to call me anything. I don't see why they cried. I wanted to sing and shout and yell. Oh, 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 just think, I can walk. Now I don't mind being here 10 months and I didn't miss the wedding anyhow. They're just like you, Aunt Polly, to come on here and get married right beside on my bed so I could see you. Always do think of the gladdest things. Pretty soon, they say I shall go home. I wish I could walk all the way there. I do. Think I shall ever want to ride anywhere anymore. It will be so good just to walk. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm glad for everything.